Hey guys, so in this video we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to tell you a true story about 50 First Dates project that I did a few years ago and give you some intel on how those dates went and what men were doing right and what mistakes men were making that you can learn from. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Anna Jorgensen. Welcome to Just the Tip Tuesday. So just a little pretext. 5 years ago, I was on the market and dating and shouldn't have been because I was going through a very turbulent time in my life. My mom was diagnosed with cancer and I was going back and forth to her home or where she was. She's living with my sister. Anyway, to help out. And then, I was there for the last few months. Anyways, was not in the frame of mind. So the first thing you're going to learn from this is that when you're meeting someone, she might not be in a place in her life where she's ready for you. So that's the first thing before we even go into the date details that you need to know is that you can do everything right and it just might not be the right timing. I've said in other videos, it might be that she's batting for the other team. She might be in a happy relationship. She might have just come out of a bad relationship and she needs some time, or she's a bit messed up. She's got health issues. That's me. Or death in the family or whatever. Sure, the possibility is that she's just not interested. But if you focus on that, then it's going to hinder you from wanting to approach women because you're going to train your brain that the rejection is personal when it doesn't have to be. Even if it is personal, trick yourself into thinking it's about her, not you, because otherwise it will destroy your confidence. Okay, let's get into the date details. And I want to let you know also, this was just at the beginning of me starting coaching officially, like as my full-time gig. And so it was a bit of a research project, but I did let all the guys know what I was doing. So, I wasn't using them. We were using each other. They would get a report on things that they did well and things that they didn't do as well. And it only cost them whatever they would pay for a normal date. So it might have been a cup of coffee, might have been a lunch, dinner, whatever it was. They got to choose. And as long as I felt safe, I would show up and do a regular date, not an interview like from a dating coach, just a regular date, and then give them feedback. And at the time, I did think that I was on the market, like I was actively looking for a person because I'd been single for quite a long time working on myself and also had gone through a bunch of other things that kind of prevented me from being available. And then I just started dating again. And then my mom got sick and that was really major for me. So I have written about that elsewhere. If you want to read about it, it might make you cry, might still make me cry. Anyway, so the first guy that I went on 51st dates with was an engineer, I believe. And he was around 50. I'm turning 50 in May. I know. So this is 5 years ago. So it was like a pretty close age match, I would think. Not that age matters. There's videos on that if that is something of interest to you. And, oh no, he worked in the government. That's what it was. He worked in the government. I have to refer to my notes because it was such a long time ago. He had 2 kids. They were grown and gone, which is good for me because I'm allergic to little kids. So we had agreed to meet at a loungy place somewhat near where I was living at the time, which was great because I think I had already gotten rid of my car at that time. I live downtown Vancouver, so everything's within walking distance, and I am an environmentalist, so it was like a win-win. Plus I was really broke for a while there at the beginning. Anyways, so that was a good move, like choosing somewhere that was within my range. And I can't remember if he offered to pick me up or not. If he had, it would have been gentlemanly to do, but don't expect that unless you know her from your social circles, that she's going to want to be picked up because of safety. So if you live in a small town and you have a bunch of, common friends, then she might feel more safe. If you're living in a city, she's probably going to want to meet you somewhere. So definitely choose a place that she's going to feel comfortable and safe. Another thing is it was a Thursday at 5 p.m. And a loungy place. that is a good choice because it's not going to be as busy because it's a lounge, so it's probably going to be before the crowds hit, and it's a Thursday, so it's not a weekend. You want to try and avoid weekends on a first date if possible because one, it kind of makes you look really available, which might be okay, but isn't always necessarily what you should be doing is offering up your prime nights to someone you've never met before. They sort of have to kind of earn the ranks to get to the weekend dates. So if you hold yourself to a bit of a higher standard and give her a weekday date, then it sort of elevates your value a little bit because she doesn't know what plans you have on the weekend. She doesn't, unless you tell her, but don't tell her. Then she will wonder if, you're busy, and you probably should be, because then if you have a life, then that makes you more attractive. Okay, next. Another nice thing about this fellow was that when I met him, he looked like his photos. He didn't try to pull a bait and switch with some photo that was really old or misleading back when he was fitter or younger or had hair or whatever. So you want to make sure that if you are meeting women on dating sites or apps, that you actually look substantially the same as your photos. Yes, women should do the same thing too. No, they don't always do that. You want to present something that's maybe 10% better than what you actually are in real life normally, because if it's too far off of what you actually look like, then she's going to automatically feel deceived and disappointed. And I actually commented him on his appearance because I was pleasantly surprised that he did look like his photo. And he did blush a little bit and kind of looked down in a way, in a sort of bashful way, which I actually found endearing because it showed him to be humble. Not every woman needs a man who's humble. A lot of women do appreciate it, but it's not something necessarily that's a deal breaker or deal maker for other women. Some women actually like a man who's a bit cocky. That's not me. So when I do, by the way, side note, when I do a video saying what all women want, it really truly is what all women want. I'm not going to give you all the specifics of what I want because I don't want you to be trying to do something that would be specific to me that is not general for most women. All right, carrying on with the story. Okay, so he also waited for me at the entrance instead of being seated. So he waited until I arrived. I was on time, always be on time, and then allowed the hostess to seat us. And I remember this, when she sat us, it was sort of there was a booth and then a table, and then not a booth, but one side was sort of a bench seat and then the other side was a chair. And initially he allowed me to have the bench seat, which had my back to a wall facing the door. As well, slight perception here that women notice is if you are on the side that views the most of the venue that you're in, then every time you look around out of distraction, or if there's a hot waitress, she's going to notice that distraction and it's not going to be attractive. So two things happened here. One, he did allow me to sit facing the venue or the lounge area, and he sat in a chair facing me, which was essentially facing me and the wall. So, he didn't have the better seat, but what happened there was the seat was really low. And so I was like way up higher than him, and it felt weird. So I can't remember, it was him or me that said, "Do you want to switch places?" I think I said it. I did. So I offered to switch places and he did accept. Especially for you guys who are concerned about your height, like if you're shorter, choose the higher spot because you will feel, you'll feel taller. And it's always better. There's a whole bunch of side notes in this video. It's going to go all over the place. If you're new to my channel, this is not how my videos normally go, but it is in this one. So watch some other ones if you just want the straight goods on what to learn. Okay, and I had one glass of wine. I would also suggest that if you're on a first date, then you actually don't really want to spend too long together. Like 3 hours in one place is a bit too long. I mean, if you're really engaging, that's great, but it's better for you to actually pick one spot, and if things go well, then have a backup plan to go to another location to continue the date, whether it's sort of something similar, like maybe you're gonna have drinks and you can go somewhere, if it goes well, you might invite her for dinner, or you might go somewhere else, or you might, maybe not for dinner, but for dessert or whatever, depending on the time of day. Or you could, if you really are enjoying her company, backup plan always in your mind. Maybe we'll go bowling, or maybe we'll go somewhere fun afterwards, because the more places that you go, the more dates that it seems like. So what that means is that she can bond with you on a 3 different location date, one date, more so than one location for the same amount of time. So it's almost like, instead of having, you're on your first date, if you've gone to 3 locations or 2 or whatever, if she keeps wanting to continue to spend time with you, it's like you're on more dates. And of course, as you know, the more dates you're on, the more likely that she likes you, and the more likely that you're going to be able to initiate intimate connection, maybe a kiss, and it's going to be welcomed and or reciprocated. So that's a better way to gauge her level of attraction and interest than just sitting in one location. One location is fine for getting to know each other, but you could be in the friend zone in one location, but if she wants to actually spend more time with you doing other things, then that's a greater indicator of level of interest that's higher. Regarding the alcohol. Okay, so alcohol. I had one. I probably only will ever have one, because no one wants to see me dance on the tables. Well, maybe you guys do, but I don't. I'm definitely a lightweight. So he had 3. Normally, I would say kind of limit your drinking to maybe 2, because if you drink alcohol at all, and of course, if you're within the legal limits to be able to drink, but you don't want to get drunk. It's really unattractive when you get to the point where you're visibly, not necessarily even intoxicated, but under the influence. It's not attractive. Now, he had 3, but we were there for 3 hours, so there was no sign of that. So that is acceptable. He told me his story. I told him my story, that I'd been on a sabbatical and I was ready to date again, though with a disclaimer. My disclaimer. The next guy that beds this gal, weds this gal. Essentially, I'm not interested in, or I was saying I was not interested in casual. Oh, okay, here's a good one. So then I changed the topic and I asked him, what would you do if you won $10 million? So this is a significant question to ask, whether you're a woman or a man, actually, because it will really tell you more about the person's character and personality and values than asking them where they grew up and, how many siblings do they have, and, what's their job details and what do they do for fun and all that stuff. So if you ask them a question like, what would you do with $10 million? Then you're going to find out more about the person. So he replied immediately, snapped his fingers for emphasis, I'd quit my job and travel. So what that says to me is he doesn't absolutely love his job. Like, I can tell you right now, if I won $10 million, I would continue doing these videos because I really enjoy it. I did it for 3 years without making any money and not knowing if I'd ever make money, and I just kept going. And it's not a bad thing if you want to quit your job and go traveling, but it does say something. So if someone's answer is, I would quit my job and go, work with the needy children, or I would buy a big mansion, or I would buy a Lamborghini, or, whatever the answer is going to reflect more about the person than other various things that you can ask them that are really kind of boring. And then at the end of the evening, he asked if he could walk me home because, one, he may have just wanted to be chivalrous and make me feel safe walking home, even though it wasn't really that late, and Vancouver's generally safe. But he also probably wanted to gauge whether or not he was going to be able to kiss me. So I said no. Oh, golly. But I did say that I wanted to see him again. But I did regret it as soon as I said it, because I kind of knew I didn't want to see him again, simply because of everything that was going on in my life. And this will happen sometimes, guys. If a woman agrees to see you again, or she might even allow you to kiss her, and then things don't go anywhere from there. So if she says yes and then changes her mind, she may not want to disappoint you in the moment or feel awkward. So she is cowardly lioness, rejecting you later rather than in that very moment, which I know it sucks. I'm sorry I did that too. If she has allowed you to kiss her and she was interested up to that point, it may be the same thing. She's just not really sure, and she wanted to test the kiss to see if it's worth exploring more. And maybe it wasn't the greatest kiss. Maybe you're not a very good kisser. Maybe the pheromones weren't there, or who knows what. Or maybe Chad showed up, you know, finally returned her text. So again, don't worry about it, but like do what you can and don't worry about the rest. Oh yeah, and I did, like I said, he was my first date and I did tell him what I was doing. And at the time I said, you know, I am on the market, but I'm also doing this 51st Dates project. And so he did have an issue with that, which I don't blame him. Like, who would want to actually meet up with a woman and have rapport with her and then be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll have to wait another 49 dates to see if she might really like me or if she meets someone else along the way. So I understand that. But at the same time, if it was someone I was actually really, truly interested in, two things would happen. One, I might have ditched the rest of my project, or two, if he would have been okay with it to allow me to do the research, I would have changed my MO in the whole project and said, I'm not on the market, but I will, you know, provide a date to get this research done if you're interested. So, yeah, anyways. Right, and even then, I wasn't feel like I was already had health issues, so I was really only willing to set aside about 3 hours a week for +1, which is not enough for a real relationship. You know, like I mean, sure, that's great if you're just interested in, you know, friends with benefits or, you know, something casual. But if you actually want to build a relationship, 3 hours a week is not enough. And like, I just didn't have the energy for more than that or the time, because shortly after this, I was going home to help out with my mom quite a bit. Let's see. So for this date, the significant takeaways were, for me, genuine modesty is attractive. I would probably say most emotionally healthy women appreciate modesty. The ones who have ego are going to want, or maybe more appreciative of men who are showy, flashy, cocky, braggy, whatever. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of, do you match with that? Like, if you're someone who wants to drive a nice sports car and, you know, have your woman proud of you for that, then that's great. That means that's a match. Me, I'm allergic to red fancy cars. Like, that's not my gig, but that's me. So when a man is sitting below or lower than, kind of takes away from his masculine confidence, both in his eyes and in her eyes. Swap seats. Booze, keep a level head. Intoxication is not sexy. Unless, you know, you're both into that. Well, then maybe it's what you're into. This is what I wrote. If a gal tells you right off that her clam isn't open for business without a commitment, believe her. Maybe. Believe her actions. However, point, if you want to settle down without settling, you do want to have a woman that has some standards. The $10 million question, I will tell you more about who they really are. Don't feel like you have to kiss on the first date, but if you liked her and you don't go in for the kiss when she's showing signs of it, then you definitely have to text her and said, I should have kissed you. Why didn't I kiss you? I wanted to kiss you. Can I kiss you? So if she's shown signs and you just got cold feet and you didn't do it, women have insecurities too. She might wonder if you're like not interested in her, or if you're not kind of, sorry, but stepping up as a man. Like if she wanted to and she was willing to and you don't, then kind of makes her feel like she the hoe because she wanted to and was willing. Like, come on, do it. And I always say, no matter how you meet, if you do meet online dating is like dumpster diving for diamonds. It takes a lot of work, like filtering through the rubbish to find a gem. It's work. But the alternative is alone and lonely. So whether it's online or in the real world, again, watch my video on where to meet women in the real world. Even now, I met actually another guy the other day. If you actually are considering online dating, then you probably want to take my Double Your Online Dating program. It's cheap like borscht used to be. And it will actually give you some real world tips, not just for online dating, but for general online communication, like texting and when to send pictures and that sort of thing. So check it out, super cheap. And let me know if you've made any of these mistakes or these non-mistakes, good things that the G-man, government man, not G-spot, did in his first date with me. And if you like this video, if you want another one like this, let me know in the comments. Thanks, bye.